Hello everyone, it is the time of the month again where we get to play the TBR game. And it will be for August, so this is the last month on this seasonal board, this summer board. I still need to start working on, I do want to do a challenge level board. So keep an eye out for that video to come. I've just got to start on that one, but I do have some ideas for some prompts on that one. But as usual, I start with 5 rolls to get 5 prompts from this board. A double means crap. So a double means I do add a roll and I pull add a punishment book, so it's adding 2 additional books with a TBR card from my Once Upon a Book Club stack, and then it just goes from there. Now if I land on, there's a prompt here where it's to pick books based on a booktuber's TBR game. That's a whole different set of books, so I can end up pretty much doubling, and then you still have to draw the color cards and try to get the color on that card. So I can still end up with a lot of books, but I start with 5 and go from there. And the only way to add on the books, really, I mean, other than getting the TBR game from another booktuber, is to roll a double. So, or if I can't match the color card that I draw on the book to fulfill the prompt, then it splits, and then it's a book for the color and a book for the prompt. So, and if I can't find a book that fits either of those, or fits one but not the other, then it's adding one. If I have nothing that fulfills the prompt and nothing that has that color, then it's another one. So, I mean, there is potential it'll go up quite a bit. Again, this is just a possibility pile that I am creating. Let's go ahead and just delve right on in. Okay, first thing we need to do is I need to pull up a random number generator, and that will determine where we're going to be placing this token. But let's go ahead and switch that from the orange to this one. Okay, so I have 30 spots, so I can land anywhere between the spaces of 1 and 30. All right, so as you can see, it's already on number 5, starting on number 25. Okay, 25 is right down here at the fireworks. So let's go ahead and go on with roll number 1 for prompt number 1. Okay, we've got a 9, so a 5 and a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Pride Month. So Pride Month is to read a book that either has, or both, written by an LGBT author or LGBT rep. So one or the other or both. And the color that I want to have on the cover of said book is this yellow, Sunshine, number 120727. All right, so as you saw, prompt number 1 was, I forgot, Pride Month. And this is to read a book that either has LGBTQIA+ rep or written by an author. This one I know has rep because it is tagged as queer and tagged as lesbian. I don't know about the author's representation or anything like that, but the book I'm going to go with is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri, and the color that I drew was this Sunshine Yellow, which is 120727. I'm saying it's pretty close and close enough. So, and this will be my pick. Trapped by her despotic brother within the crumbling walls of an ancient temple, Princess Milani dreams of vengeance. Forced to disavow her birthright and her power because of her past, maidservant Priya dreams of freedom. In a world beset by wild magic and turbulent uprising, their destinies will become irrevocably tangled, and together they will set an empire ablaze. All right, number 2. 2, going for prompt number 2. All right, so instead of 5, it's now 6 because I got a double. So 2 threes. So moving 6 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fireworks. So fireworks is one of the things that I had said earlier. It's a YouTube TBR game. So I have my jar here of booktubers that have TBR games. And let's draw and see whose game I'll be basing these prompts off of. Going with this one. Maddie, book browsing blog Dart Attack. She hasn't done one for a while, but she did one recently. And I got fireworks. So this is to watch a YouTuber's or a booktuber's TBR game. As you saw from what I drew Maddie from Book Browsing Blog, specifically her Dart Attack game. So I watched the most recent game that is released is actually for July. So for the month that I'm currently filming this video in, I'm filming this on July 26th. So the video came out like 3 weeks ago about that, something like that. Ended up with 7, technically 6 prompts. So let's go ahead and get into this. Prompt number 1, standalone. For this one, I'm going to go with Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. The whole family has owned the Gallows Hill winery for generations. The sprawling old house has long been perched on top of a hill overlooking the nearby town, jealously guarding the estate's secrets. Their wine wins awards, their business prospers, their family thrives, until Hugh and Marina Hull enter the dark halls of Gallows Hill one last time, and are found dead the next morning. People whisper that the curse has awakened once more. It's been more than a decade since Margot Hull last saw her childhood home. She was young enough when she was sent away that she barely remembers its dark passageways and secret corners. But now she's returned to bury her parents and reconnect with the winery that is her family's legacy, and the bloody truth of exactly what lies buried beneath the crumbling estate. Alone in the sprawling, dilapidated building, Margot is forced to come face to face with the horrors of the past and realize that she may be the next victim of a house that never rests. Prompt number 2 that Maddie got was mood read, and I'm going to get this one on while I can, and that is A Prayer for Vengeance, which is the book club selection for Autism Reads, which is the group that I host. Discord is always linked in the description box, and this is the selection for August. Centuries after a miracle vanquished Trestato's monsters and turned the soldiers finding them to stone, Milo lovingly tends to the statues of those who protected the city. Raised with devout Templars and scholars, Autistic Temple Ward Milo wants nothing more than to be accepted into their ranks. When his prayers admiring her heroic sacrifice accidentally free Gia from stone, she wakes with a fury to kill the man Milo owes his life to, Primo Saint Inio. Gia claims that the immortal holy leader Milo claims to serve is the same man who betrayed her and transformed her into a statue. And what Milo always believed was a miracle was actually a curse that Gia will stop at nothing to break. So I'm going to get this on while I can. Next up is to randomize. So let me grab my phone and let's do... I'm going to go to my I've got a couple of random generators saved. So let's go to those and see which one I want to do. Let's do random letter generator. Oh, it's loading. So right now it's on the letter H, and I'm going to generate a letter, and either the title has to start with this letter, the author's first name, or the author's last name. So, Q? All right, so I got Q. I need to write this down. So, This one, it's the author's last name, and that author is Julia Quinn, Quinn. I'm going to go with Bridgerton, The Duke and I. So, and this is book number 1 in the Bridgerton series. By all accounts, Simon Bassett is on the verge of proposing to his best friend's sister, the lovely and almost on the shelf Daphne Bridgerton. But the two of them know the truth. It's all an elaborate plan to keep Simon free from marriage-minded society mothers. And as for Daphne, surely she will attract some worthy suitors now that a duke has declared her desirable. Their ruse works like a charm, at first, but as Daphne waltzes across ballroom after ballroom with Simon, it's hard to remember that their courtship is a complete sham. Maybe it's his devilish smile, certainly it's the way his eyes seem to burn every time he looks at her. It wasn't the plan, but it seems she's falling for the Duke, for real. And amidst the glittering, gossipy, cutthroat world of London's elite, there is only one certainty. Love ignores every rule. Yay, this was easier than I thought it would be. Okay. The fourth prompt that Maddie got was color. And so she threw her dart, and then the color that the dart landed on was a dark green. So this is to read a book that has mostly dark green, and I am going to go with Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. Let's see, underneath Declan it says, I'm destined to become the next CEO of my family's media empire. The only problem? My grandfather's inheritance clause. Fulfilling his dying wish of getting married and having an heir seemed impossible until my assistant volunteered for the job. Our marriage was supposed to be the perfect solution to my biggest problem. But the more we act in love for the public, the more unsure I feel about our contract. Caring about Iris was never part of the deal, especially not when breaking her heart is inevitable. And then underneath Iris, it says, my plan to marry Declan was simple in theory. Move in together, throw a wedding, have a baby. We set rules to prevent any kind of issues. Ones that were never meant to be broken, no matter how much Declan tempts me. But what happens when our fake relationship bleeds into our real one? Real one. Falling in love was never an option, at least not for me. So fake marriage, fake dating, getting a lot of fakeness in this TBR. All right. The fifth prompt that she got was substitute, and this was to basically throw the dart, and then whatever comes up would be used, that prompt would be used to substitute one of the previous ones. So standalone, mood read, randomize, or color. She didn't really want to do that, and honestly, I don't either. So you know what? I'm not going to do it. Now, she is doing things a little differently. She's letting her viewers vote, where it's Maddie's game. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to pick a book. I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm just going to continue on. So there's going to be a total of 6 books for Maddie's game. And then the next one was BookTube BookTube recommendation is the next prompt that Maddie got. And it could be a book, and I am going with also it could be an author. And the author that comes up a lot on BookTube is Talia Hibbert. And I really want to get to this one. So I'm going with Talia Hibbert, Damaged Goods. This is book number 1.5 this is a Ravenswood novella, so in the Ravenswood series. Second chances shouldn't feel so sinful. Laura Burns' husband is a monster. Her diamond ring is a trap, and her pregnancy is the push she needs to finally escape. She runs away seeking safety and finds Samir Bianchi, her long-lost teenage sweetheart. With his kind eyes and dirty smile, Samir's still hot as hell, and he still treats Laura like a goddess, baby bump and all. And the wild boy she spent one magical summer with is every inch a man, and he's more than ready to care for her tiny family. But Laura's been keeping a secret Samir might never forgive. When she finally confesses, will he remain by her side, or is this fairy tale ending too good to be true? The last prompt that Maddie ended up getting from the game is to read a book with an even page number. I am going with a sweet romance, and that is Falling for You. This is book number 2 in a Bradford's Sisters romance, and this is a Christian romance written by Becky Wade. Famously beautiful model Willow Bradford is reveling in the peace and quiet of her hometown right up until the moment she comes face to face with her ex-boyfriend Corbin Stewart. Former NFL quarterback, Corbin is forceful, charming, and accustomed to getting what he wants, except where Willow is concerned. He's never been able to forget her, but Willow makes it crystal clear she's unwilling to risk her heart again. When a decades-old mystery in Corbin's family brings them together, will the heartbreak in their past and the complications in their present keep them from falling for one another all over again? So second chance romance. Now, so that is 6. So I have 6 books. Now, what I'm going to do, and what I do for these whenever I get the YouTube one, is I draw 6 color cards, and then we'll see if any of the 6 colors are on here, or if I'm going to have to add a card or add a book. So let's go 1 and 2. It's looking like it's going to be a little difficult. 3, 4. Probably going to have to be adding some books. 5 and 6. Oh, okay. Okay. So, looking first at Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. And I am, or do I want to go with this one? Okay, I'm going to go with this green because there's a little spot of green just behind that O there. Oh, you can't see it real well. There is a sprig of green. And it looks like this color is in the leaves of that little bit of green there, so I'm counting that as being on there. All right, now, so I have these 5 colors left, and there's no purple, no brown, no green, and there is a pink, but this is more of a peachy pink, and this is not, so I'm already gonna have to add another book. Now, looking at Bridgerton, possibly this one, but let's see if there's another one. This is not on there. No. I could possibly go with this one. There is purple. Do I want to go with this purple? Okay, I think, yes, I'm going to go with this purple. So there's a bunch of purple flowers, and so I'm going to go with like some of the shading in these flowers. Matches this purple. So that's another color. Now, Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I have this green here, and I am going to say that it does match. Well, let me look at this one again. Okay, so this one that I'm using for Gallows Hill is much too bright. So it would not match that. And this is much too lemony bright. Yeah, this is much lighter than, and even this shading, it's brighter than the lighter shades here and too light compared to the dark. So that's not gonna work. There is no green on this one. All right, so Falling for You, there is green. And yes, okay. So in the shading of the green in the leaves here, back here, is pretty close. Even on the side over here, some of this green is in the leaves. So we'll go with that one. And okay, so now we have 3 colors left. I have Almond, Raw Sienna, and Coral Haze. Well, none of them are on terms and conditions. And as far as damaged goods, maybe in their hair. And let's see, this is not there. I am saying that Almond is on the cover, in the shading, some of the highlights in her hair. So we'll count that one. So now I need to go find 2 books that fit these 2 colors. Okay, so I am back and I have found 2 books to go with these last colors that did not go with the books that I picked for Maddie's Dart Attack game. So the first color, in no particular order, is Coral Haze, number 16-1329. For this one, my pick will be Dark City Omega. This is a little bit chunky of a book. My stack is getting big, big, big. This is over 400 pages. As far as the color goes, it's in the shading of her blush or highlight on her cheek or something. Or I would say highlight because it's also on her shoulder and her arms, so highlight there. So I'm going to go with this one for that color. When Omegas run away, the beasts of Gatamora come out to play. Echo knew that being caught by a ruling berserker would mean becoming his pawn, a plaything to be used for her powers. That wouldn't be her fate. She'd rather run lost through the woods forever, dangerous though they may be. But there's something even more sinister than beasts and berserkers lurking in the woods, something both undead and deadly. She can't fight it alone. She'll have to turn to the berserker who's caught the trail of her scent and won't let it go. He says she's his. She says never. He says forever. Bones, bonds, and hearts will be broken. Some battles can't be won. Run, Omega, run. For the color Raw Sienna, 17-1436, I'm going to go with The Bone People by Carrie Hulme. There's in the shading of the color here on this middle finger. I'm saying it's almost spot on. Might be one shade lighter, but it looks to the naked eye pretty dang close, if not spot on. So, in a tower on the New Zealand sea lives Carrion Holmes, part Maori, part European, an artist estranged from her art, a woman in exile from her family. One night, her solitude is disrupted by a visitor, a speechless, mercurial boy named Simon, who tries to steal from her and then repays her with his most precious possession. As Kierwin succumbs to Simon's feral charm, she also falls under the spell of his Maori foster father, Joe, who rescued the boy from a shipwreck and now treats him with an unsettling mixture of tenderness and brutality. Out of this unorthodox trinity, Carrie Hulme has created what is at once a mystery, a love story, and an ambitious exploration of the zone where Maori and European New Zealand meet, clash, and sometimes merge. And now we need the punishment card for getting a double. Okay, let's go with this one. Choose a book with deckled edges. I hate deckled edges, but I do have options. And I need a color to go with that. So, shuffle these up just a little bit more. Caribbean Sea, number 184525. All right, so for the punishment, you saw the card I drew. I'm having trouble with words today. The card I drew was choose a book with deckled edges, and the color to go along with that was Caribbean or Caribbean. I hear it both ways. Caribbean Sea, 18-4 525. So I was able to combine these. And I'm going to go with The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. It's in the shading here, especially in the hair towards the end there. So that's what I'm going to go with. The synopsis says, Finnmark, Norway, 1617. 20-year-old Maren Mangsdottir stands on the craggy coast watching the sea break into a sudden and reckless storm. 40 fishermen, including her brother and father, are drowned and left broken on the rocks below. With the men folk wiped out, the women of the tiny Arctic island of Vardo must fend for themselves. 3 years later, a sinister figure arrives from Scotland, Commissioner Albusum Cornet, who rose to prominence by buying witches. He brings with him his young Norwegian wife, Ursa, who is both heady with her husband's authority and terrified by it. In Vardo and in Maren, Ursa notices something she has never witnessed before: independent women. But Albsum sees only a place untouched by God and flooded with a mighty evil. As Maren and Ursa are drawn to each other in ways that surprise them both, the island begins to close in on them, with Albsum's iron rule threatening Vardo's very existence. So, as far as the deckled edges, it's hard to see, but this does in fact have deckled edges. So, and I do not like deckled edges. I don't like deckled edges. So, okay, still have to get prompt number 2 from my game. Okay, got a 5 and an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 5 and a 3 to equal 8. So Juneteenth. This is to read a book by a Black author. And with, well, let's just go with this one since it jumped out. This green one, 5555. All right, and the official prompt number 2, which after picking books for Maddie's game, I'm now on prompt number 11. But prompt number 2 from my game I landed on was Juneteenth, and this is to read a book by a Black author. I need to get my library books read, and I do have a library book that is by a Black author. I'm going with Game On by Sarissa Glass. I'm sure I said the name wrong. I do apologize. Samara Reynolds has built a large following as a game under an anonymous screen name and uses her skills as a DEIA consultant to advocate for equal representation in video games. When she posts a video critiquing the popular game Legends Fall, she knows she'll get a reaction from her fans. But the video leads to hundreds of female gamers criticizing the game and its company, Artemis Games. The only thing more unexpected than starting an online movement is getting a job offer from the handsome CEO of Artemis. Aaron Galanis has been on a mission to get his company certified to create gaming content for people with disabilities. When he sees Artemis trending online for all the wrong reasons, he's determined to right his wrongs and offers the original poster a mea culpa, as well as a job offer to overhaul the character options in Legends Fall. Working together turns Aaron and Samara from adversaries into allies, allies into friends, and after that, something more. But once their relationship goes public, will Aaron and Samara be able to weather the storm and fight for their happy ending, or is it game over? The color that I drew is this green, 555, 5555. There are 4 5s in there. I'm saying that this green is in the buttons on their controllers, so it looks like it matches to me. Okay, going for number 3. Got a double again. So 2 4s. So moving 8 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go Swimming. So Go Swimming is to read a book that has some kind of water on the cover, even if it's a water drop, but water on the cover. And let's go with this one. So this purple, Bright Violet, number 19-3438. Prompt number 3 was Go Swimming, and this is to read a book with water on the cover. The color that I drew was Bright Violet, which is 19-3438. This book fulfills both of those. There is water here on the cover. There are flowers right in here, and there are some purple flowers with this, what looks like to be this shading. So for me, it's a match. And I'm very happy with that because my stack is growing ever bigger. More interested in kneading dough than adding it up, Lindsay's breakup inspired her to set up the shop she always wanted in a place that always made her happy. Oh, and this is Murder at the Beacon Bake Shop, and this is a cozy mystery. Continuing on, it says, she'd spent many childhood summers near this beach community and converting the old rundown lighthouse into a bakery cafe and home offers a perfect fresh start for Lindsay and her devoted Newfoundland dog Wellington. But not everyone in town has a sweet tooth. The Preservation Society won't have the lighthouse's history sugar-coated by lattes and cakes, and a protest group crashes Lindsay's Memorial Day opening. Then her ex-fiancé, Jeffrey Plank, and his girlfriend, Mia Long, arrive to trash the place. In the ensuing chaos, Mia chokes on a donut and dies. An autopsy reveals cyanide in Mia's bloodstream, and Lindsay is the police's prime suspect. To clear her name, she's going to need to combine ingredients found in the town's checkered past to uncover the identity of a desperate killer. So. And then because that one was a double, I've got another punishment. So let's go with, this one. Oh, a non-fiction. I am least excited about that one right now. Still need a color for that. So let's go with this one. Felt like, is there two there? No, there's one. Okay. Caramel is how I say it. I know people say caramel, but I say caramel. Number 16-1439. All right, so another double means another punishment. And the card I drew was the Choose a Non-Fiction Book, and the color is this, I say caramel, 16-1439. So I do find I have a book that fits both of these. This is a collection of short stories, so an anthology all by various people, more like a collection of essays. And that's a chicken soup book. Chicken soup for the grandma's soul. And grandma here is holding a potted plant, and it looks like this color is the color of the pot. So that's what I'm going with. Now, as far as what this book is about, it's just as I said, a collection of short stories. I'm sure they're all feature grandma's. Chicken soup has a plethora of books out. Cat Lover's Soul, Grandma's Soul, Mother's Soul, Father's Soul, Teenager's Soul. So they've got a bunch of them, and just for the soul. So people's personal experiences with their grandmas, or grandmas with their family, or being a grandma. So personal life, essays, short stories. All right, so prompt number 4 from my board game. It's another freaking double. 2 5s. Okay. Moving 10 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Independence Day. So Independence Day is to read a book that takes place in America. That's pretty much going to be easy. So a lot of books I read take place in America. Let's go with this one. I have no idea how to say that. Sauterine, number 15-0942. Prompt number 4 is Independence Day. This is to read a book that is set someplace in the United States, so someplace in America. For this one, I'm going with My Roommate is a Vampire. And the color that I drew was this Sauterine, number 15-0942. And I'm saying it's in the shading of her hair. So for me, it is a match. Cassie Greenberg loves being an artist, but it's a tough way to make a living. On the brink of eviction, she's desperate when she finds a too-good-to-be-true apartment in a beautiful Chicago neighborhood. Cassie knows there has to be a catch. Only someone with a secret to hide would rent out a room for that price. Of course, her new roommate, Frederick J. Fitzwilliam, is far from normal. He sleeps all day, is out at night on business, and talks like he was out of a Regency romance novel. He also leaves Carrie heart-melting notes around the apartment, cares about her art, and asks about her day. And he doesn't look half bad shirtless. On the rare occasions, they're both home and awake. But when Cassie finds bags of blood in the fridge that definitely weren't there earlier, Frederick has to come clean. Cassie's sexy new roommate is a vampire, and he has a proposition for her. So, I'm looking forward to this one. Alright, and for the third punishment of this game, let's just go with this top one. Choose a book with a blurb on the cover from your favorite author. So I'll have to do a little digging for that one. So I have a lot of favorite authors, so I should be able to make that work. And the color to go with this book is 485, kind of an orangey red. And yet another stinkin' punishment. So the punishment card is choose a book with a blurb on the cover from your favorite author. I have a lot of favorite authors. And the color that I drew was 485. And a book I really want to get to has this color on it and happens to be blurbed by one of my favorite fantasy authors is Robin Hobb. There's a blurb on the back of this book saying, reminds me of why I became a fantasy enthusiast in the first place, Robin Hobb. So, I want to read the last book in the Of Blood and Bone trilogy by John Gwynne, A Time of Courage. As you can see, this color is on the cover. The Demon King Azeroth is free of his iron prison, and the whole of the banished land stands at the brink of domination. When the Ben Elim, broken and routed, half-breed Reeve and a small band of comrades must try to find a way to strike at the demon forces. Meanwhile, Drem is with the Order of the Bright Star on a desperate march south to join the battle. He fears what they will find along the way, even as he knows it is better to fight and fall than to live without hope. What would have been the last if I wouldn't have gotten any punishments? Going for prompt number 5. And I got a 5, a 3, and a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go swimming. Water on the cover. And the color that I need on this one is this yellow, number 394. All right, the next prompt I landed on was go swimming again. And this is to read a book that has water on the cover. The color that I drew is this yellow, which is number 394. I'm going with Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. As far as the color goes, it is hard to see. There's little floaters floating around here, and this looks pretty spot on to me. Like these are like, I don't know, they look like gold floater type things, but they're just reflections of the gold locket that's in there, but it's looking pretty spot on to me. So this is what I'm going with. When Cora Lawson attends her sister's birthday party, she expects at most a hangover or a walk of shame by the end of it. She doesn't anticipate a stolen wallet, leaving her stranded and dependent on her sister's fiance, Dean Asher, her arch nemesis and perpetual thorn in her side. And she really doesn't anticipate getting knocked out and waking up chained in a madman's basement. Dean in his own shackles beside her. After 15 years of teasing, insults, and never-ending pranks, the ultimate joke seems to be on them. The two people who always thought they'd end up killing each other must now work together if they want to survive long enough to escape. But Cora and Dean don't know that their abductor has a plan for them. A plan that will alter the course of their relationship, blur the line between hate and love, and shackle them to each other long after they are freed from their chains. They are in this together, no matter what their unexpected bond might cost them. All right, so prompt number 6 that we're now going for. Oh, freaking A. 2 4s, so another double. This is going to be a big TBR. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pride Month. So an LGBT author or LGBT rep. And let's go with this one. This gray 414. And we got Pride Month again. So this is another book with either and or LGBTQIA plus representation, or by an author that is LGBTQIA plus, or a combination of the two. I know this one has the rep. There is the tag of LGBT rep on this on Goodreads. As far as the author goes, I do not know. But the color that I drew is number 414, and I'm going with This Poison Heart by Callan Bayron. This color looks like it's in the shading there in the background, so that's what I'm going with. Dark Magic, A Dangerous Curse, an Ancient Mystery. Breesis has a gift. With a single touch, she can grow plants from tiny seeds to rich blooms. When Breesis's aunt dies and leaves her a dilapidated estate in rural New York, Bree and her parents hope that maybe, surrounded by plants and flowers, Bree will finally learn to control her gift. But their new home is sinister in ways they never expected. It comes with a mysterious set of instructions and a walled garden filled with the world's most lethal botanicals. There is more to Bree's sudden inheritance than she could have imagined, and she is determined to uncover it. All right, punishment card. Let's just go from the bottom this time. Choose a book with a one-word title. And the color, let's go with this. A lot of yellows, but I guess for August that's fitting. Number 600. And another freaking punishment. Another double. This game is just hitting me with the doubles. So the prompt card that I drew for the punishment is choose a book with a one-word title. And then the color I got to go with that is this yellow, which is number 600. And the book I'm going with fits both of these. War. One-word title, War. This is number 2 in the Four Horsemen series by Laura Thalassa. The first one was Pestilence, I believe is what it was. I loved it, so I am really excited to get back into this writing. I hope I get to this book really soon. I really, really, really want to get to this one. As far as the color goes, it's in the shading of how the light hits the yellow on the sword there. So that is what I'm going with. I think it matches. It looks pretty dang spot on to me. The day Jerusalem falls to the horsemen, Miriam Emlady knows her life is over. Houses are burning, the streets run red with blood, and a traitorous army is massacring her people. There is no surviving this, especially not once Miriam catches the eye of War himself. But when the massive and terrifying horseman corners Miriam, he calls her his heaven-sent wife, and instead of killing her, he takes her back to his camp. Now, Miriam faces a terrifying future, helplessly watching her world burn town by town, and the one responsible for it is her seemingly indestructible husband, who refuses to let her go. But there's another side to him, one that's gentle and loving and set on winning her over, and she might not be strong enough to resist. However, if there's one thing Miriam has learned, it's that love and war cannot coexist. She must make the ultimate choice, surrender to War and watch humankind fall, or sacrifice everything to stop him. The first book, I had a great time with it, and it does get steamy, so I'm expecting nothing different. I'm expecting the steam in this. Okay. There. Okay, roll number 7. Dang it! Okay, 2 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, Flag Day. So this is to read a book that's set in a country where I have ancestors from. So, okay, I can do that. Let's just go with this color. It's kind of a pale greeny seafoam color. 9041. The next prompt was Flag Day, and this is to read a book that is set somewhere that I have ancestors. This one, I believe it is set in Scotland, and I have ancestors in Scotland, and it's just because of this one word that I see right off the back. I'm going with Do Your Worst by Rosie Dannon. Oh, and the color, 9041, I'm saying is in the shading of some of the window panes there. Riley Rhodes finally has the chance to turn her family's knack for the supernatural into a legitimate business when she's hired to break the curse on an infamous Scottish castle. That's the word. Scottish castles gotta be set in Scotland. Used to working alone in her alienating occupation, she's pleasantly surprised to meet a handsome stranger upon arrival, until he tries to get her fired. Fresh off a professional scandal, Clark Edgware can't allow a self-proclaimed curse breaker to threaten his last chance for redemption. After he fails to get Riley kicked off his survey site, he vows to avoid her. Unfortunately for him, she vows to get even. Riley expects the curse to do her dirty work. Riley expects the curse, not hers, the curse to do her dirty work by driving Clark away, but instead they keep finding themselves in close proximity. Too close. Turns out the only thing they do better than fight is fool around. If they're not careful, by the end of this, more than the castle will end up in ruins. So, we don't have castles here in America, so like there are castles in Scotland and England, so that's what I'm going with. So I think it's going to take place in Scotland. I will be very surprised if it does not. Alright, punishment again. Let's go to here. Choose a book from the top shelf of your bookshelf. Okay, I can do that. And the color, uh, 732. And another freaking punishment. Holy cow, this game is out to get me this round. Okay, so the card that I drew is choose a book from the top shelf of your bookshelf. Okay, got plenty of options. And the color that I drew is this very dark, it looks almost black in camera, but it is a very dark, deep, kind of chocolatey brown. So, this was sitting on the top of my bookcase, and so I decided to go with it. So it fulfills this, the punishment, and I think it fulfills this. There's, in the shading, like specifically down here with the lighting, like there is some brown. It's hard to see because it's really dark, but it's brown, not black, and so I think this matches. It looks very, very similar. And this is book number 2 in the Never After series written by Emily McIntyre. The first one was Hooked, and it was a reimagining, not a retelling, but a reimagining of Peter Pan. This one, with the title Scarred, I'm thinking it's going to be a reimagining of The Lion King. I will read the synopsis. These are dark and very spicy, okay? Prince Tristan Fasa was never destined for the throne. That was always his brother Michael, the same brother responsible for both Tristan's tormented childhood and the scar that mars his face. When their father dies, Michael is set to assume the throne, and Tristan is set to steal it. The leader of a secret rebellion, Tristan will stop at nothing to end his brother's reign. But when Michael's new betrothed, Lady Sarah Betrow, arrives, Tristan finds himself in the middle of a new kind of war. The kind that begs the question of what's more important, the crown or the woman about to wear it. Sarah has one plan: marry the king and eradicate the Fasa line, even at the risk of her own peril. But she never expects the scarred prince. He's dangerous, forbidden, and one of the men she's been sent to kill. But the line between hatred and passion has never seemed so thin. And as secrets come to light, Sarah grows unsure of whom she can trust. torn between vengeance and the villain she was never supposed to love. So Fasa, Mufasa, Scar, Sarah, what was her name? I don't remember. Sarai? Anyway. Yeah, so I'm excited to get back into Emily's writing. Okay, no more doubles, please. Send me good vibes. You failed me. Okay, 2 4s. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Barbecue. This is to read a book with food on the cover. And let's go with this color. Desert Sand, number 17-1524. Barbecue. This is to read a book that has food on the cover, and the color that I drew was Desert Sand, which is number 17-1524. The book that I'm going with is number 2 in a Chapelwick Mysteries, and I think this series is complete. I think it's only a duology. Mystery at Maple Mead Castle. At least the last time I looked, there were only the 2 books. This was written by Kitty French. And this is a more vulgar type cozy mystery. The language is a bit rougher than most cozy mysteries that you find, but the first one was very funny. So I'm expecting nothing less. As far as the color, this color is under the pug's eyes, in the shading of the revolver handle, in the shading of, it's hard to see, but the shading of the inside of the shoe there. So there's a couple of spots that this color appears to be. This one says, Maple Mead Castle is crawling with ghosts, and the new owners need them gone. When Melody, Bittersweet, and the girls' ghost-busting agency arrive on scene, they quickly identify the troublemakers swinging from the chandeliers. Literally. A century ago, stunning trapeze artist Brigiana Lavelle plunged to her death and has done every night since. But did she really just fall, or was there something more to her demise? Forced to work with Leo Dark, her scoundrel ex, and infuriating, irresistible reporter Fletch and Gunn, Melody's investigative powers are under strain, i.e., lost in a pink mist of lust and confusion. She needs her team on top form. But best friend Marina's cake pipeline goes AWOL. Assistant Artie's distracted by a giant sausage roll, and the pug is scared witless by a lion. Somewhere hidden in the castle is a heartbreaking secret, but what will it take to find it? And is there a chance it could set Brigiana free, or is she doomed to repeat her last fateful act forever? Alright, punishment. Put that back in. And we're just going to go with this one that popped out that I didn't see. Book with a choose a book with a cover in your favorite color, blue or yellow. Depends on the shade. And the other color that needs to be on that cover, let's just go with this one, a 4545. And another punishment. I don't know how many more punishments I'm going to have to do in this game. I just don't know. I'm hoping this is the last one. Fingers crossed. Okay, the punishment that I drew is to choose a book with a cover in your favorite color. Okay, and the color that also needs to be on the cover is this color, 4545. There's a lot of blue. Blue is one of my favorite colors. Sometimes depending on my mood, it's yellow, depends on the shade, but I love this pale blue. We have blue here, it's in the blue of the house, so I'm saying at least 50% or more of this color cover has shades of blue on it. So fits that. As far as the color, it's in the shading of like the curtains in the window right there in the corner. So looks pretty good to me. And I really need to get these library books read so I can return them to the library. Let's see. June Woo has it all together. Her mother's medical, and then it says something that's covered by the sticker from the library. So her family's in, desperately needs guests. Her mother's medical debts are piling up, and the surly, if sexy, stranger next door is driving away the customers she has left. When he asks for June's help, though, she can't say no. After all, his new bar could be just the upcoming pumpkin festival is just what the upcoming pumpkin festival needs to bring in more tourists. But with the fierce attraction between them, will working together be playing with fire? Ex-soldier Clay Hawthorne prefers being on his own. He's moving to Blue Cedar Falls for one reason: to carry out his best friend's dream of opening a bar in the hometown he'll now never return to. But the town's business association is trying to stop Clay's progress. June soon becomes his biggest supporter, and while their partnership is supposed to be only temporary, for the first time Clay wants something permanent with June. Can two total opposites really learn to meet each other in the middle? All right. Number 9. Okay, a 4 and a 2. So 6 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. International Dog Day. And this is to read a book that has a dog on the cover. And let's go with this color. A gray, warm gray 2. All right, International Dog Day. I was hoping this would come up before this season was over. And this is to read a book that has a dog on the cover. And I'm going with another of my library books, and that is Like Cats and Dogs by Kate McMurray. As far as this color goes, he's wearing gray, but it's mostly in the shading of the white to kind of give it some dimension. So there's some gray shading on the white of her shirt and on the white of his shirt. And it looks spot on to this. And this was warm gray number 2. Whoa, throwing that in my face. So I'm excited and I'm really intrigued by this one. I really like the cover, so I'm really hoping I love this. It's got the dog and a cat. So I'm hoping this will be really cute. Things get rough in this Brooklyn neighborhood when new veterinarian Caleb Fitch moves in next door to the Whitman Street Cat Cafe and gets on the wrong side of cafe owner Lauren Harlow. Lauren can't ignore the fact that she is instantly attracted to Caleb, but she gets riled up when he argues with her about how best to treat the cats in their care. Lauren has a few things to teach the new vet on the block. Determined to smooth things over, Caleb comes to the rescue when a new litter of abandoned kittens is left on Lauren's doorstep, and they confront the fiery attraction that's been building between them from the start. But saving the baby kittens is only the first challenge Lauren and Caleb have to face. And when a real estate developer comes sniffing around their block, they'll have to work together or risk losing everything. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. All right. Number 10. Okay, 6 and a 5. Your vibes are starting to come through, but I don't want to jinx it, so moving 11 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Water on the cover. Go swimming. This is going to be a massive TBR. So again, water on the cover. Just go with this one. 7415. So kind of a peachy pink. Another go swimming. It's a good thing I don't do a punishment with adding on a book for duplicate prompts, because I am up to, with this prompt, I am up to 24 books. So hopefully there's no more punishments. Hopefully there's no more other stuff that's going to end up adding books. Fingers crossed, because I'm going to end up with at least 25 books on this. So go swimming, water on the cover, and the color that I drew is this, which is 7415, kind of a peachy pink color. I'm going with another library book, A Perfect Pairing, written by Cheryl Lister. As you can see, there is water right there. I don't know if it's an ocean or a lake, don't know, but there's a picnic in front of it, and that food looks really good. As far as the color, it's in some of the shaded squares on this blanket covering up whatever is in that picnic basket. So I'm going with it. Let's see. We're following Natasha Baldwin, who loves something in a town called Fiery Lake. She has a good job and even better friends. Library sticker covering up part of the synopsis. So continuing on what I can actually read, it says, Really, Tasha has only 2 regrets: never pursuing her dream career and how things ended with Antonio Hayes years ago. So when an opportunity arises to show off her passion for interior design, Tasha's excited and a little nervous. But with the support of her girlfriends at their bi-weekly supper club, she's eager to dive in until she discovers that Antonio is her new project partner. Teaming up with her ex is less than ideal, but with all eyes in town on her new project, Tasha knows now is not the time to let her messy past with Antonio impact her future. Yet working with Antonio immediately sparks bittersweet memories, and the same undeniable, irresistible chemistry even after all their years apart. Then, just as Natasha realizes that the life and love she's waited for are within reach, her big break comes around and she must decide what she truly wants. All right, roll number 11, hopefully the last roll. Yes, okay, maybe, depends on what I land on. So I got a 6 and a 5, moving 11 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Mom. This is because my mom's birthday is in July, so my mom is a woman. So a book with a woman on the cover, and yes, this is the last roll, so we need the last color. And let's go with this one. Citrion, I guess is how it's said, not positive, but yep. Finally, all right, so the last prompt, and oh, no more doubles, no more punishments, yay. So I landed on Mom's Birthday, which is to read a book with a woman on the cover. And the color I got was Citron, I guess is how it's said. This is 12-0524. Going with Cass. This is book number 3 in City of Sisterly Love by A.K. Landau. Very, very spicy series. And there's like 5 books and then a novella that's to be read after the 5, or there's 4. Can't remember. Anyway, Cass by A.K. Landau, and I'm excited. There's like some little sparkle floaties in the air. Oh my gosh, they're not showing up on camera, but these, they match this color. You'll just have to go and find this book somewhere. Maybe also in the lighting of some of the buildings, I could say it's there, but definitely in these little floating things that you can't see on camera, but there are floaty things there, so I'm saying it counts. Cassandra Blackstone, aka Cass, is everyone's favorite funny sidekick from Knight and Dr. Harley. Doesn't she also deserve a happily ever after? Not so fast. She's been in a secret relationship with her best friend's stepson, Trevor Knight, who happens to be nearly half her age. So we have an age gap romance here. She's happy to keep things secretive and casual, but he wants more. She can't let him sacrifice his future, and she can't lose the only family she's ever known. Cassandra has spent a lifetime battling demons we finally get to understand. The walls she's built are there for a reason. Trevor is determined to help her break down those walls and overcome her fears. In the process, the relationship blossoms into something very unexpected. What happens when you put together two highly sexual jokesters? You get a lot of laughs and a lot of steam. Trevor and Cassandra don't disappoint on any front. The entire Knight, Lawrence, and Cooper crews are back for the unforgettable 3rd installment of the series. So want to get back into this world. And that is it. That is 25 books. Now, will I get to these? All of these? No, I will not. And that is fine. I do plan on, between each physical book, reading an ebook, whatever's going to help fit prompts for readathons, and whatever I'm in the mood for. So there is no way I'm getting to all of those, plus some ebooks. It's just impossible. So let me know, have you read any of these books? Have you read books from any of these authors? Do any of them sound intriguing to you that you haven't heard of and that you might be interested in picking up in the future? Definitely let me know. If I read a prompt to you and a certain book popped into your mind, let me know what it was and which prompt it fulfilled. Or what are you most excited to get to for the month of August? Let me know. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I will talk to you later.